Is this really the end of everything for Jimin? And why did Jungkook seem so shaken after that supposedly secret closed-door meeting? Check out Chris Martin's shocking confession that changed everything for ARMY around the world and dismantled the veil that had been tightly covered by the management. Before we dive deeper into the mystery that is plaguing the global music industry, be sure to like, comment on your theories below, and click subscribe and turn on notification bell so you don't miss any of the latest developments from our ongoing exclusive investigation. What really happened behind the tightly locked studio doors that night in Los Angeles? Why did Chris Martin, who has been known as BTS's mentor and best friend, suddenly issue a statement that left HYBE's entire management speechless in an incredible panic? The world has long known the relationship between Coldplay and BTS as a symbol of harmonious transcontinental friendship. But leaked voice recording and an unexpected statement from the legendary vocalist have now become the explosive axis of a scandal that fans may not have imagined before. This tension was not just an ordinary industry rumor, but rather a great shock that began when Jungkook was seen leaving the location with a deathly pale face, avoiding every pair of eyes trying to find answers to what had just happened inside the meeting room. The incident began on a seemingly quiet night on the west coast of the United States, where BTS members were reportedly conducting secret recording sessions for their next global collaboration project. However, that warm mood turned cold instantly when Chris Martin, in a casual interview that wasn't originally meant to discuss internal details, blurted out a phrase that sounded like both a warning and a profound confession. Chris mentions that there is one big secret that has been kept by Jimin, something related to his future career and the decisions he has taken without the knowledge of the other members. The statement, though brief, immediately sparked a wave of speculation among industry observers and sent Jungkook, who has been known to be very protective of his colleagues, into a state of panic rarely seen in public. Eyewitnesses who were around the scene said that the atmosphere behind the stage turned very tense in just minutes after Chris Martin's statement began to spread on social media in a limited manner. Jungkook was caught on camera talking in a high-pitched tone on the phone. His footsteps were unsettled, and his eyes showed deep anxiety, as if he was trying to prevent something big from collapsing. The awkwardness was further compounded when Jimin, who usually provided a reassuring smile for the ARMY, disappeared from the public's radar during those crucial hours, leaving a big question mark as to the truth behind Chris Martin's words. Why would a legend like Chris have to divulge that now? Is this a form of disappointment or an attempt to save Jimin from even greater pressure? It is undeniable that Jimin has always been a figure who stores his emotions very neatly behind a perfect stage performance. However, this secret that the public is now beginning to smell is not just a matter of technicalities or work schedules, but something much more personal, and that has the potential to permanently change the dynamics of the group. Small clues that have been ignored by fans are now starting to be reassembled, ranging from song lyrics that feel more melancholy to Jimin's more closed attitude in recent interviews. Jungkook, as the smallest brother who has a very strong bond with Jimin, seems to be the first to feel the impact of this secret, and the panic he shows is clear evidence that whatever Jimin is hiding is something that has very severe consequences. The South Korean and global entertainment industry is holding its breath, waiting for an official statement that until now has not been issued clearly by the agency. This information standoff has further muddied the atmosphere, allowing wild speculation to flourish amid heightened curiosity. Chris Martin himself, after making the statement, was reportedly immediately withdrawn by his management team and no longer gave additional comments, a move that only further confirmed that something very sensitive was going on. A rhetorical question arises in the mind of every ARMY. Is the friendship that had seemed without gaps is now being tested by a bitter truth that is forced to come out to the surface? Or is this the beginning of a painful new chapter in the career of one of the world's most beloved members? Tensions in the internal HYBE reportedly reached its peak when several senior staff were seen pacing the central building with very serious expressions. Several internal sources, who declined to be named, provided hidden clues that there was a heated debate over how to deal with the impact of Chris Martin's remarks. On the one hand, they wanted to preserve Jimin's privacy, but on the other hand, the public reaction triggered by Jungkook's panic was no longer possible to be suppressed with normative statements. Surprise after surprise keeps popping up as more and more people try to unearth what really happened in the studio that night, creating an increasingly dark and intriguing narrative involving contracts, mental health, and devotion that may already be reaching its saturation point. The emotional feelings surrounding this case are felt not only by the members, but also by the millions of fans who feel they have grown up with them. Seeing the normally energetic Jungkook now look so fragile and depressed creates a collective wound for his supporters. They began to wonder what secret could be so big that Jimin had to hide it from the world, and why did Chris Martin feel the need to be the one to open the secret door first? Speculation about a betrayal, a sudden decision to go on hiatus, to health problems that have been covered up with meetings continue to roll in, building a climax that is just waiting for time to explode completely. Every second that passed without clarification felt like a clock ticking towards the destruction of an image that had been built up over the years. Jungkook remains at the center of the storm, a symbol of wounded loyalty and a key witness who may hold the key to the answers to all this chaos. Jimin's Secret, which is now slowly but surely beginning to come to the surface through the cracks of Chris Martin's statements, has created a domino effect that cannot be stopped. All eyes are now on the group's next move, while behind the scenes, the real drama has just reached its peak, leaving a big question hanging in the air. Will BTS remain the same once these secrets are truly revealed in their entirety, or is this the beginning of a major shift that will change the history of world music forever? The silence that enveloped Jimin's own party added more weight to this mystery. In the midst of the news frenzy, his absence spoke louder than any words. There are rumors that Jimin is in intensive talks with parties that are not directly related to the music industry, giving indications that this secret may have to do with a completely different way of life than what we know so far. Chris Martin, with all his authority, seems to give the code that the world must prepare for a reality that may not be popular, but must be faced. Jungkook, who keeps trying to calm down in front of the camera, but fails to hide the tremors in his hands, is a portrait of a friend struggling against a storm that he himself doesn't know how to stop. Every clue left behind, every dangling statement, and every reaction caught on camera all lead to one very tense climactic point. The public is now divided between deep curiosity and fear of the truth that might hurt them. But one thing is certain, Chris Martin's confession was not just a speech error, but a deliberate act to trigger something big. Jimin's secret is no longer just a personal secret. It has become the property of a world hungry for the truth. And Jungkook is the first to bear the brunt of the truth in the midst of this overwhelming panic. After a stifling silence following a shocking statement from Chris Martin, the world is now forced to see what is really going on behind the scenes that so far seemed to sparkle impeccably. Why does management seem to have lost control of the narrative that they usually lock in so tightly? This question continues to buzz in the ears of millions of ARMY who are now beginning to realize that there is something much darker than just contract rumors or physical exhaustion. A new leak from industry insiders in Los Angeles reveals that Jungkook's panic was not without reason. He reportedly found a document in the studio's waiting room that he should never have seen, a file that listed Jimin's name under the label medical emergency status and voluntary resignation. Does this mean Jimin has planned to leave the world stage even before this big 2026 tour starts? Tensions at HYBE headquarters in Seoul reportedly reached a boiling point as the sun began to rise over the eastern horizon. Several music industry observers with access to the inner circle said that the emergency meeting conducted over an encrypted video link between management in Korea and the team accompanying BTS in the United States was very emotional. It was reported that Jungkook cried out in despair, demanding an explanation from the higher-ups as to why Jimin was left to carry such a huge burden alone without any of the other members being informed. Meanwhile, Chris Martin, the catalyst for the chaos, is reportedly under the watchful eye of his legal team. But a short message he posted on a private platform seemed to provide additional clues that made the public tremble even more. The truth will set him free, even if it has to destroy the foundation we built. What was Jim hiding all this time? If we look back at the concert recordings and behind-the-scenes content of the past year, the clues are actually already there, hidden behind the energetic laughter and choreography. Jimin is often seen holding his chest or taking a deep breath with a look that holds back the pain when the stage lights start to dim. However, all this time, it was considered as a result of his extraordinary dedication to performance. Now, with Chris Martin's statement, those little clues are beginning to form a chilling picture of an idol who may be battling a life-threatening health condition, while he's forced to keep smiling to keep the multi-billion-dollar industry stable. Jungkook, who has been known to have the most intuitive bond with Jimin, seems to be on the verge of his resilience. His close associates leaked that Jungkook had not slept for more than 48 hours since the incident at the studio. He kept trying to contact Jimin, who is now reportedly under special protection management at an undisclosed location. Jungkook's biggest fear, according to the source, is not about the group's future or possible financial losses, but rather about the possibility that he will lose the person he once considered his soul mate in this ruthless industry. Why did Jimin choose to keep his suffering a secret even from Jungkook? It's this profound shock that makes this narrative even more heart-wrenching, in which loyalty is being tested by a secret wall deliberately built for the sake of a misguided refuge. The international media began to smell the scent of a larger scandal, in which some investigative journalists began to link Chris Martin's statements with a closed-door medical research project that had involved some of the names of major artists some time ago. Is Jimin undergoing a high-risk procedure? Or is it related to psychological pressure that has already reached a threshold that ordinary mortals can no longer tolerate? This speculation was further reinforced by the appearance of blurry photos showing a private ambulance leaving the studio area shortly after Jungkook was seen panicking. Although the agency insisted that it was a routine procedure, Jimin's absence in a photo session scheduled for the next day spoke far more than the thousands of lines of official clarification they issued. The situation heats up even more when Taehyung, who usually mediates between the members, is seen leaving the management building with a very cold expression and refusing to talk to anyone. Some sources say that Taehyung has learned some of Jimin's secrets, but he is bound by a promise of secrecy that now makes him feel trapped in the midst of the suffering of his two best friends. This disharmony is something unprecedented in the history of BTS, where their integrity and kinship has always been a major strength. If Jimin Secret is really able to shake the foundation of their friendship, then how much impact will it actually have on the K-pop industry as a whole? On social media, hashtags about Jimin and Jungkook continue to top the global trend, but this time not with a celebratory tone, but with real fear. Fans are beginning to realize that the clickbaits circulating earlier may contain bitter truths. Chris Martin's statement is not just a drama seasoning for their collaboration, but a moral act from a senior musician who can no longer bear to see suffering in front of his eyes. Chris Martin reportedly felt that Jimin was being sacrificed for the sake of commercial interests, and his explosive statement was an attempt to force management to give Jimin breathing space, even if it meant having to reveal a secret that had been guarded at the cost of his life. The psychological tension depicted in each act of this surreal drama makes the public feel as if they are watching a thriller that takes place in real time. However, this is not fiction. This is the reality of the global pressures faced by the largest stars on the planet. The frantic Jungkook is a representation of humanity trying to fight the system, while the disappearing Jimin is a picture of the heavy burden that those at the peak of popularity have to bear. The real surprise may be just beginning, as it is rumored that there is a video recording being held by a third party showing the final confrontation between Jimin and the top management before he disappears from public view. The mystery also involves speculation about the role of American industry observers who have been providing support to BTS. Jeff Benjamin and several other music critics began to write enigmatic columns, as if they knew something that they did not dare to say directly. One of the quotes that caught the most attention was when a senior observer mentioned that Jimin is the key that will open the door that has been locked tightly by the industry. But the question is, are we ready to see what is behind that door? This sentence seems to confirm that Jimin's secret is not only about himself, but about a system that may have been exploiting them further than what fans out there can imagine as time goes by.